Senator, you've received almost $700,000 from the illegal labor lobby. Is that why you voted against the Save America Act? Why are you betraying your constituents? Why are you betraying your constituents, Senator?
Good luck on the clicks.
We just want secure elections, Senator. You're preventing us from getting that. You're betraying America.
Good luck on your job.
Good luck on yours.
Okay, so minor but necessary editorial correction that we have to make for this video, and you'll see exactly what I mean in a few minutes, so just stay tuned. But tonight, the bill that House Republicans passed as sort of a leveraging attempt with the Senate Republican leadership was actually an appropriations bill for the State Department. So this is funding the State Department, foreign aid, things like that. And what they did is they added the Save America Act to that to basically say to the RINOs, hey, you want to fund the State Department, you have to pass the Save America Act alongside it. I said in this video that it was actually the Pentagon budget, right? The defense appropriations bill. They did do that, but that was last month. So tonight, basically what happened is that House Republicans did the same exact thing again, now with State Department funding. So just to clarify that, right? The defense one's not the one that passed tonight, but they did do that. So you'll understand what I mean, but basically the details of this video are still largely the same. The point is the same. The arguments are the same, but just want to correct the record factually. Anyways. You'll see what I mean. Here's the video. So let's talk about the Save America Act, because Trump and House Republicans are now trying to get creative in the ways they want to effectively force the Senate Republicans to pass the bill and basically make life as hard as possible for Senate GOP leadership as they can, which is certainly a welcome thing. That's exactly what you should be doing to these RINOs. They don't want to pass the Save America Act. They refuse to try to figure out a way to get it through reconciliation or work around the filibuster or something like that. Okay, then start holding up things that they want until they make any agreement to actually get the job done here. And so what's just effectively gone down tonight is the U.S. House, led by Mike Johnson, ultimately being led by Trump there, right, who's calling the shots, basically added the Save America Act language to the NDAA, which is the defense appropriations bill. Basically, think the Pentagon budget, right? And this is very creative. I have to say, innovative strategy, because you think about what the neocon Republican establishment ultimately cares about, what's very important to them. Certainly, that's military and defense spending. That's no secret. And hey, I'm no leftist hippie. I also support having a strong national defense, but we have long maintained there's no point in fighting enemies abroad if you're not going to fight those same enemies over here. And this has been my criticism of neocon hypocrisy historically, is they say, we're fighting the terrorists in the Middle East, but we're going to sponsor mass migration of the terrorists into this country, to which I say, how does that make sense? I thought we're supposed to fight them over there so that we don't have to fight them over here, yet you brought them over here. And arguably, the same thing is true with American elections. Because there's no point, first of all, in allegedly defending democracy abroad if quote-unquote democracy in America isn't even functional. By the way, you talk about our foreign adversaries. You really mean to tell me you don't believe foreign adversaries are taking advantage of America's elections? That's kind of an established thing. We know it happens to a limited extent, at least. So this is all to say, it actually makes perfect logical sense when you think about it. Obviously, a defense and national security bill should come with the Save America Act, because that is a genuine national security priority. Is it not, right? So not only is this creative, it's sort of a troll on some levels, but I actually think it makes perfect logical sense when you try to really be sincere about what a conservative should define to be national security or national defense, right? I mean, Trump has said that election integrity is a national emergency. That's why he's treating the Save America Act as such. I totally agree. And this is the logical extent of that. Like, yeah, the Save America Act should be passed as a national security bill when you really think about it. But nonetheless, we'll tell you about this current kind of situation going on, the battle between the U.S. House and the U.S. Senate in today's video. First, though, do us a favor. If you enjoy our content, make sure you hit that like button down below. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. That is the best way to support our work, and it also ensures that you can stay up to date with all of the latest news and coverage. And with that said, so we have here tonight the U.S. House passed the basically language of the Save America Act. So that includes voter ID, proof of citizenship, all of those things, right? With the core tenets of the Save America Act. Because the Senate won't pass the Save America Act on its own, the House Republicans here basically said, okay, will you pass it as effectively part of an omnibus package, right? As part of a bigger bill with other things. And of course, as I said, the National Defense National Security Act, kind of necessary. Congress has to obviously pass that every single year. So we're basically saying, all right, we're going to throw the Save America Act in there, and let's see what Senate Republicans do with it. So as you can see, they added those provisions, right? Voter ID, proof of citizenship to the national security legislation by a 217 to 209 vote. And that will now, of course, go on to the Senate. And for all of the reasons I outlined, again, not only is it a smart way to kind of force Senate Republicans' hands, because you can't just kill, at the very least, you can't just kill the vote here, right? You can't just keep it stuck in committee and say, oh, well, we're not going to be able to debate on this or whatever parliamentary procedure, because now here you have a bill that you actually need to pass. It just so conveniently happens the Save America Act is stuck within it. And so what appears is going to happen, and John Thune is backing this up today, is saying that basically the Senate is, because if you know how legislation works, right, let's think back to U.S. government or civics 101. Basically, the House passes a form of a bill, the Senate then does a form of a bill, and they basically get together until they can reconcile and make the same bill. So what Thune is strongly hinting here is that because the National Security Act will, according to their procedure, because he refuses through reconciliation, right, will require 60 votes, that's not going to clear the filibuster, and so therefore the Senate basically is probably going to pass the National Security Act, but take the Save America Act out. Here is the thing, though. The House, here's where we can make life difficult for the Senate Republicans, right? The House does not have to agree with that, right? Because keep in mind, they have to eventually converge and agree on the same bill. So the House can say, if the Senate does that, no, we said the Save America Act, that's what we want. Furthermore, Trump can either veto or refuse to sign the bill if the Save America Act is not included in the National Security National Defense Authorization Act. So you understand here how we're basically like saying to the RINOs, okay, you want to make things difficult for us, you want to cause problems, you want to grandstand, we're going to grandstand back, right? Hopefully that makes sense here, what's going on. But nonetheless, here's Thune kind of fuming about what just took place tonight out of House Republicans.
I guess I would start by saying that, reconciliation, as you know, is very different in the House than it is in the Senate. So we'll see what they're going to try and mark it up in the committee, and we'll see if they can report it, get it across the floor of the House, and what it all contains. What are the implications over here with respect to the Byrd Rule and the restrictions that we have on how reconciliation is used? Do we have 50 votes for something? I think those are all valid questions, and those questions will be answered in due time. I've said all along, as you know, that it's an option, but it's not certainly the only option, and it all, in the end, comes down to whether you have the math, whether you can get 50 votes to pass it in the end, and whether you've got 50 votes to defeat any poison pill amendments that might be offered. We are all here in favor of the Save America Act. The folks that have consistently block voted against it are all the Democrats in the United States Senate, and I think that's unlikely to change. And it's also very unlikely that the Senate Republicans are going to vote to get rid of the legislative filibuster.
Okay, so let's break down what we just heard, because as usual, you first of all have John Thune using the typical excuse as to why Senate Republicans cannot pass the Save America Act, and it all boils down to the filibuster. Well, we don't have 60 votes. The Democrats are not going to vote for it. It is what it is. Simply nothing we can do. It's over, right? Now, of course, there have been many arguments that Republicans should terminate the filibuster to get this done. Of course, the counter argument to that typically is that, well, If we do that, it's a slippery slope because then when Democrats have power, they're going to do the same thing to us. I've always had questions about that argument. I first of all think the filibuster is often an excuse for the political establishment to basically not do things, right? For the Senate to not do things. It's a very convenient excuse, right? We can't really change that much because, we can't give you what you voted for because the filibuster, guys. Sorry, nothing we can do. Secondly, there is an argument to be made that the Save America Act is important enough. And thirdly, I think the strongest argument often made against the filibuster is that, well, progressives are going to get rid of it anyway when they take power. They've been talking about this for the past decade. Would it not maybe be expedient to just get in front of them on that? But still, regardless, let's actually take the counter argument as fact for a moment, just as this logical exercise, right? Let's actually say, okay, fine. Senate Republicans, it's too extreme. We're not going to get rid of the filibuster. It's a slippery slope. Okay, fine. Let's not get rid of the filibuster. Notice what he said in the first half of that clip. He was basically asked, hey, would it be possible to get the Save America Act done via reconciliation? Keep in mind, reconciliation is the same thing that was done to pass the big, beautiful bill. It's basically, there's these like stupid, strange parliamentary loopholes that say every year you can pass a certain number of reconciliation packages and those only need 51, but others need 60. As I've said many times, it's actually a very arbitrary rule. Like, for example, remember during the big, beautiful bill, the Senate parliamentarian struck down certain parts. And then I believe when it came to, what was it, the tax on silencers or something, at that time, like certain Republicans basically said, we're going to ignore certain stuff from the parliamentarian, but then pass other things. And then they got it through. And it's like, so does the filibuster rules exist or not? Does the parliamentarian exist or not? But that's the point I've always made about this, right? When you really break it down, those Senate rules are completely freaking arbitrary. And then what does John Thune even say? Does he give a definitive no on reconciliation? Does he say it's illegal, it's not possible? No, he doesn't. He actually says, oh, well, we haven't looked into that, but it might be possible. I don't know. It depends on the rules and things like that. Okay, so did you catch that? What he is basically saying is what we have said. You could try to pass this via reconciliation if you wanted to, and you wanted to try hard enough, but he's just not doing it, right? We're not even going to go down that path. So what he's basically saying, and this is very revealing, every time the Save America Act in its different forms has gone up to the Senate GOP, they've basically said, oh, sorry, filibuster, nothing we can do. Casually there, right? He just admitted, hey, it might be possible. We haven't even explored passing the Save America Act through the actual viable channel, which would be reconciliation. But, I haven't even really given it thought. What do you mean you haven't given it thought? Are we not all, as the Republican Party, in agreement that the Save America Act is highly necessary and we need to figure out every way we possibly can to get that through and get that passed? And you mean to tell me the Senate GOP, basically what John Thune just said there, is that they haven't even considered trying the reconciliation route? What on earth are you talking about, right? So to repeat, I find that very revealing. So what we have argued about the Save America Act is that probably deep down, the Senate GOP either does not want or doesn't care enough to get it passed, which you have to kind of speculate as to why. Because, with certain things, oftentimes the milquetoast or more weak-willed senators and politicians will say, oh, I don't want to pass a bill too extreme that will cause backlash in the election. But you would think actually this should be a law that only helps Republicans in elections, right? Because even if it creates a political backlash, okay, you mean to tell me that the illegal aliens are mad that they can't vote now? Like, why would that hurt Republicans? You only have something to gain from, in terms of re-election, right? In terms of even cynically just trying to hold on to your own power, it's still a good thing for Republicans to pass the Save America Act. So kind of questionable, first of all, as to why the GOP establishment doesn't want that. But I guess when we use the useful idiots logic, or the, you ever heard the the slogan about how there's two parties in America, an evil party and a stupid party. I guess if you understand that the GOP establishment effectively stands there as this form of controlled opposition whose ultimate goal is to make it look like they're fighting, but ultimately let the communists take over America, then I guess this kind of does back that up, right? As to why they will maybe pretend to want to pass the Save America Act, but clearly they don't want to fight that hard for it, right? Which is, of course, the entire point. But that's the thing. That's our proof there, right? Because if you're going to go out there as the Senate leader and admit you haven't really even exhausted all your options, potentially when it comes to Save America, but we're not even thinking about possibly doing reconciliation, then yeah, what the heck do you mean that, oh, the filibuster, guys, we can't do it because of the filibuster? You admitted there's a way, okay, and we all know there is a way you could do this without the filibuster. At least even partially. I mean, I don't know. Some election integrity is better than no election integrity, right? But they won't do it. Very curious, very peculiar, very perplexing. But, you know, what I will say in the meantime is I think the crusade here that the House Republicans and Trump are on is correct, which is if the Senate doesn't want to pass the Save America Act, then let's, of course, make life difficult for them as well. We can hold up the defense national security bill that they want. Let's also hold up the housing bill. Now, granted, all of this obviously falls within reason because we don't want to force a government shutdown with the Republicans. I mean, that's a bad thing to have happen on an election year. So we're not calling for that. And nor are we saying, oh, completely screw over the Senate GOP in the upcoming election because, you know, as we've well established, these people suck, but the Democrats suck much more. And so let's not go down that route, right? We don't want to have a Democrat Senate. All right, I'm going to be clear. To pretend as if there's no difference, that's very stupid. There is still a difference. However, you have to put maximum pressure on these people within reason, okay? We're not going to shut down the government. We're not going to vote Democrat or something like that. But we're going to try to put, again, a level-headed, rational amount of pressure on these people to at least try to get the job done. So you combine that with, of course, tomorrow, Trump has his big address on election integrity in the 2020 election that we'll, of course, talk about. But, you know, very glad to see, obviously, that this whole conversation will not be going away because you would think on an election year it is relevant. Let's repeat, we saw what just happened to Spencer Pratt, okay? And the Senate Republicans don't even think Save America Act should be a national conversation, that election integrity shouldn't be a national conversation. I mean, give me a freaking break there. No. Make life as difficult as you can for the Senate GOP until they do what they need to do. Very simple. Very simple. And clearly they're not trying. They're not trying. So anyways, that said, guys, let me know your thoughts on this in the comment section down below. Be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Until next time, God bless and peace.